Stuart Harley. Behind the camera is now going to start looking at separate characters and the things that make them the characters that they are. Today we'll be looking at accents. We'll also be looking at the introduction of Arron Anthony to the show, and we'll also be looking at what might happen in the next coming weeks on Starvation. So first of all, let's look at characters and character traits. I'm going to start off with the introduction of Arron Anthony and his character Evan Barnes. For me, Evan Barnes was spoke about in the first episode. We spoke about him not being able to cope with the character Dexter leaving, and I think that was an integral part of not bringing him in the first episode, not just slamming all the characters in the first episode, and possibly giving them a bit of a chance to materialise and come in very slowly. And that's what we're going to do in stages, and just sort of wean people into the show as we go on and go forth. For me, Evan was never a character that I particularly visioned. In the book, he's not a character that I particularly had a set vision for. Dexter was a character that I had a set vision for. But Evan was very different. So when Arron came to me and wanted to be in this project, it was actually him coming to me and me saying I want to be in the project. But when he wanted to use this story, for instance, I then wanted him to portray Evan, in the way that he thought he should do it. And that was good. For me, it gives me a chance, it takes a little bit of thing off me because I don't have to work out everything, and it gives someone else a bit of a chance to put a bit of input into it. Because throughout doing this series, the characters that I have had have changed quite dramatically. Dexter's changed, for instance, Evan's now changed, for instance, and some of the other characters that are going to come in. Billy Hollins has changed, for instance, as well, who's a new character that we saw in the second episode. But for me, everything was going to begin on the second episode. That was it. The second episode was the kick-off point, rather than the first. Now, obviously, you'll understand that by the end of the second episode. By the end of the second episode, you'll understand relatively why it's kicking off there and not anywhere else. The first episode and the first part of the second episode were just sort of merging together what had happened and that he was going back to America. You don't get to find anything out, and for that reason I think the first two episodes are quite boring, to be honest, apart from the last 2 minutes to 30 seconds of the episode, but they're essential to the storyline, so if you didn't see them, watch them. But the thing is, this story, it's not fast paced at the moment, but it becomes faster and faster and faster as the time goes on. Now, I won't go back to the characters a moment, because the accents of the characters are very important in this role. They're very, very important indeed. They are the differentiates between the two characters. If you're playing two characters, it's very difficult to understand which of them is talking if you're watching it in a show type environment. So that's what we did. We changed the accents a lot. I let Arron make his own accent up for Evan, because for me that character was nothing to do with me. That character was Arron's. He will make it his own. But the funny thing is, he has actually given Evan a transatlantic sort of feel to him. He's sort of... He actually has kind of an American slang to his accent. I don't know if that's his real accent or not, but I certainly know that he's got a transatlantic feel to him. It's perfect for the role. I absolutely love that accent. It's perfect for the role. Dexter has a transatlantic American accent. Now, I sat for quite a while, in February I think it was, when I was trying to decide the accents of the characters, and I was trying to do an American accent. Now, for me, you've got the problem of you probably going to fall into the stereotypical view of an American accent, you know, which is sort of down south and we don't do nothing, get off my land, you little ballhorn. So that's the normal stereotypical American, and I thought, well, I can't do that. One, it doesn't fit with the story. I mean, can you imagine someone being dark and mysterious with that accent? Not really. And two, it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound good either. So I thought that I would just do a transatlantic slight American. It's more a lackadaisical, lazy American accent than anything else. It's not particularly expressive, nor is it particularly brilliant, but it's there. If you wanted to use it, you could. If you wanted to raise your voice, you could. But I wanted my character to have a low octane in his voice. I didn't want my character to go any higher than what I'm speaking to you right now. Because this essentially would make the character seem more mysterious, a little bit dark, you don't really know what's going on with him, and you're not supposed to know what's going on with him. So that's why I did that. Now, why did I give Billy Hollins a Scottish accent? I had that question actually asked to me by my cousin. Why did you give him a Scottish accent? You know, that's a very difficult one to keep up. Even, it's been described as a Highlander accent. It was described by one of my Scottish friends, Lucy, as a Highlander accent. Lucy's going to be in the show, by the way, as well. As a Highlander accent, but I mean, I didn't know which one I was doing. I just knew that it was part Scottish. You know, it was kind of Scottish, you know? But the thing is, with a Scottish accent, it's very difficult to keep it up and not go too far Scottish. Because I want people to understand me. And Scotland is a very difficult country to understand if you get into certain places. But that's the problem, isn't it? That is the problem that we have. I need an accent that I can keep up and that I can keep doing. From the very beginning that I start doing the accent to the very minute I have to stop doing the accent. And it's very difficult to change between two accents if you're playing two different characters. It's very difficult to change between two different accents that are so different between the two of them. It's so different where you have to position your tongue in your mouth. And it was very different because the sound for the American is not made at the front of the mouth. And there's not a lot of lip movement with my American character Dexter Barnes. The lips on Dexter are very, very sort of still. Some words he doesn't even move his lips. Because for that American accent I found a way to do it that the sound is not made at the front of my mouth, rather further back of my mouth in sort of a growl noise, which then changes into obviously words and comes out. Because that's how I talk normally. I don't normally raise my voice too high. Normally I stay quite low voiced and stuff like that. Sometimes I might raise my voice quite high if I'm doing a character or something. But when I saw Lucy on the internet and she was, you know, I realised that she was Scottish accent or something like that, I thought, well, why don't you learn that? Why don't you learn it? Then you'll have two Scottish people in there, and, you know, possibly that might make another dimension to the story, a transatlantic dimension to the story. We're all about the transatlantic here on Salvation. We're all about the transatlantic. So I thought to myself, well, maybe that's a great idea to create a Scottish character. You know? I'm not great at the Scottish accent. I know that I'll never be great at the Scottish accent, but hey, there we go. So, next week on Behind the Camera, we'll be talking to Arron about what he thinks his character is like and what he thinks his character should progress like, and if he thinks that his character's accent, if he tried a different accent before going for the accent that he took. Thank you very much for watching Behind the Scenes. I've been Stuart Harley. You've been you. Ta-ra! Salvation, Behind the Camera, done.